Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. SEC Media Days are taking place this week, and LSU was highlighted. We're both Tiger fans, but this is more about not as much about just the Tigers as it is coaches in general and their thought process and what they are doing. SEC first year with Brian Kelly, tremendous success. They did lose in the opener, but then they rattle off 10 wins in 11 games. They beat Alabama. They win the West. They actually played decent against Georgia, particularly offensively. But then, a few big plays, big mistakes that were almost unlucky, kind of got that game out of hand quickly. But overall, tremendous success for LSU. They are they're not necessarily a favorite, I would say, but a lot of people are picking them to win the West again and play Georgia in the SEC championship. Yet you get this narrative coming from Brian Kelly where he said it multiple times, and he said it again at SEC Media Days yesterday, where he's like, are we ready to compete with Georgia? No, not yet. We're not ready to compete with Georgia. And he talks about how building a sustained program and sustained success and all that stuff makes sense. But you are talking about a program that's probably going to enter at worst a top 7 team, if not a top 5 team, one of the favorites to win the Western Conference and play Georgia in the championship. What is that about? Why is he so it's like, is it I'm trying to keep my players humble? Like, is it coach speak? Because we've seen people take this or maybe take the attention off LSU. I don't know what it is. We talk about the rat poison and people building up a team. Is it just the anti-rat poison here that he's talking about? Because behind closed doors, you have to think. You may not have as much talent as Georgia, but you can't be telling your players that. Even if they didn't, and they have a lot of talent at LSU. But even if they were a little bit behind, like behind schedule, even where they are now, you can't be just telling your players going into the season, oh, we can't beat Georgia. Like, come on, what are we talking about?
All right, I got a few thoughts. I do think he's telling a little bit of the truth. LSU, nobody's on Georgia's level. If you look at how they're recruiting and they're developing talent, I mean, Kirby Smart's got a 6-7 year head start on Brian Kelly. And Brian Kelly inherited an absolute mess. I know Kirby Smart didn't inherit, Nick Saban's team, but Mark Richt had that program right on the cusp. Kirby Smart absolutely elevated the program in every way possible. There's no arguing that. But Kirby Smart kind of walked into a better situation than Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly walked into LSU and it was a dumpster fire. Organizationally, the program, the school, everything was bad. It was a terrible situation, and he's trying to rectify those mistakes off the field. That doesn't even address the recruiting part of it, where Kirby Smart has now, and this is, I'm just telling you how it is. I'm praising Kirby Smart. He is the best coach in college football, but he is stacking recruiting classes, stacking. So that means his freshman class is just waiting, chomping at the bits just to get an opportunity, let alone where last year LSU was counting on freshmen to contribute. LSU will get there. There is not a hotter bed in recruiting than the state of Louisiana. Per capita, there is not a better state to recruit in than Louisiana, though Texas might have more, Florida might have more, Georgia might have more. Per capita, nobody produces talent like Louisiana. With that being said, I absolutely believe he's playing two different sides. To the media, he's telling his players, he's talking to his players via the media. Said, look, guys, those are the 2-time defending national champions. You just saw them in the SEC championship. It was not close. We are not close. You've got to work hard. We are in the summer months. We are grinding. You guys aren't close. We can be close. You guys are talented, but you're not that talented. I think it's a motivational tactic. It's certainly not him, he's not discouraging his team, because I guarantee you he goes behind the locker room before that SEC game, and he's talking about shock the world, beat the hell out of them, doing all the motivational things he can. But there's different sides of Coach Kelly. I absolutely guarantee it. This guy is smart. He's a CEO type head coach. He is very calculated. He doesn't say things that he shouldn't, and he will say things that he has to say. I think, this is you talked about earlier, Matt Moscona, being confused. You're wrong, Brian Kelly. You do have the talent. And though I do agree, I think LSU has the talent right now to compete. But Matt Moscona, you are and I don't want to say you're nobody because we're nobodies, but you don't know anything. I mean, Brian Kelly has forgotten more about running a program than you could ever learn. So I think we should just trust the guy. He won the West in his first year. This guy left the most illustrious job in college football at Notre Dame as the all-time winningest head coach to go to the toughest conference, the toughest division in college football. You think he did that willy-nilly? No, this guy knows what he's doing. He's built for it. He's built for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I disagree with anything you said. I mean, Georgia is levels ahead as far as building a program than LSU. It's not close. And listen, Kirby Smart didn't come in and even win the East in his first year. He went 8-5. You know, it took him a little time to get those guys to where they were.
Lost to Vandy too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I just think there is a bit of surprise, especially when you talk about the rabid LSU fans and you talk about the disconnect that there might have been between a Brian Kelly and the LSU fan base, because they're not necessarily the same personality. And I think that's where you get LSU fans in a riot, because they don't want to hear that. They don't want, even if it's true, like, and even if it's preseason, and even if they know that you're just trying to deflect the rat poison and deflect the praise that's already been given to the program, even though they're not quite where they need to be a championship contender every year. That's, I think, the disconnect that a lot of people were talking about beforehand. And it doesn't matter. Listen, you win games, they're not going to give a crap. No one in LSU is going to give a crap. And Brian Kelly has already exceeded expectations in year one. And that's why everyone's so excited for year two. And now he's trying to temper those things. But you're also in a fan base where no one cares about the reality. No, this might be the most rabid, delusional, do not care. They expect national championships. I mean, Coach O did it in his second year. Like, and we're talking about a way better coach than Coach O. So people are like, yo, what are you talking about? Coach O did this in year two. Why can't you do this in year two? So that's just the funny. I agree with you on everything. I think you're right. I think he's trying to deflect expectations, remind his guys, hey, we got to work hard if we want to get to that level. We're definitely not there on August or July, whatever it is, 17th, 18th right now. Maybe at the end of the year we will be. I think you're 100% right. I do think there's that kind of weird where, like, LSU fans, we're not like that. Like Coach O, that wasn't what Coach O's message was, right?
I want to say this. You're absolutely right. Even going back to Les Miles, that's who Les Miles was. Les Miles was a lot more like Coach O, where he was going to tell you how it is. We're going to go win. We're going to do this. He wasn't as rah as Coach O. LSU fans, haven't we learned? Two bums that just went up in flames. Let's get it. We have a grown-up in the room, finally, who can actually run an entire program, not just the football team, the entire program. Let's just give it some time, because you're right. LSU fans are delusional. They expect national championships every single year. The past three coaches have won national championships. You can't call them fools for expecting a national championship. The past three head coaches have won national championships. The last two cannot hold a candle to Brian Kelly. That's for sure.
No, they absolutely can't. But I do think it's that interesting dynamic that a lot of people talked about before the hire. Coming up after the break, running backs aren't getting paid in the NFL. We're going to discuss it. Fair or unfair?